So it's Connor Pendlebury here to talk about my Fmod project, the final CA for sound implementation. So first of all, I'll walk you through my audio assets in Fmod, and they're all in one bank called SoundBank, and that's what I pass into Unity. So I have different creatures or enemies in the game. One called Elephant, one called Zombear, and one called Zombunny. In level 1, there was only the Zombear and Zombunny. If you remember, I was talking to you and you were saying maybe I should only keep 2 enemies in level 1 and then add one into level 2. So for Elephant, I have Elephant Det and Elephant Hurt. Just hurry up a little bit. So with all the enemy assets, I add a random reverb. I didn't want to get too much into the randomness for the enemy. I wanted it to be pretty consistent. So all files I added a reverb, a random reverb to. I didn't put too much of a value, random value on it. I wanted it to be slight. Like I said, I wanted it to be consistent. So, every reverb value is the same. And then for music, I made this myself, following a video tutorial on YouTube. It literally described of getting an upbeat soundtrack. You change the tempo and you lower the pitch multiple times, and then you higher the pitch again, and you get strange kind of eerie sound. I'll play here now. So this is with a slightly higher pitch. And then if we go into if we change my parameter in this particular asset, this is with a higher pitch. It starts to make a kind of a horror sound, and I really liked it for this project. So I went with that. So and then adaptive music 2. This would be for level 2. The other one would be for level 1. So adaptive music 2, I wanted wind. It's outside, in a graveyard type scenario, which you'd expect kind of wind elements. And then I added a multi-soundtrack, which is filled with shovels, just a bit of an ambient effect. And then I have my horror ambience 2 soundtrack that was this horror type. So I'll just play that through for you. So we get my wind asset playing, and every so often the shovel will play. I have it set to a probability of 60%, and then if I bring it up to 0.5, it'll do the same as last time. And I'll show you how I achieved that in the game after I explain Fmod. Next for player footsteps, I didn't get them implemented. This was because in Unity, for the input controls, survival shooter was based on get access. So it was very hard. Get access. It's always checking for an update, rather than a key press. If you were checking for a key press W, that's fine. Once the user presses W, play that sound. But with access, as it is always checking for that, it just keeps on playing and playing and playing. So you can't set it for the key press. So it's very hard to consider a movement, as everything would be updating, and it wouldn't only just play the one shot. It would literally just keep on looping. Well, not looping. It'd have many instances. But I have it in anyway. It's a concrete sound, walking concrete sound I got off freesounds.org. it was a very large file, and there was a lot of noise pollution in it. So I had to use a lot of noise reduction, but eventually I got the I got the sounds I wanted for left and right. So it works out nicely, and I can use it for any other game engine, as it's a common sound. Next, for the gun, I think I got that gun effect spot on. So then I wanted to use a multi track. So in Audacity, I went in and I got the gun sound effect, and I increased pitches and amplitude, and I added a multi track. So I have 3 different sounds. So it's not always going to be the same, which you'd find with a gun, depending on, I don't know, distance or whatever. And then I have Hurt, which is also a multi-track, and I'll play types of hitting. So I'll play it now and get random sounds. As you'll see in the animation in Survival Shooter, like the zombies literally they hit you. So I thought that would be a nice effect, as it's not a too serious game, because we have some zombie bunnies, and that I felt this would work well. Next, I have some Bear Debt. As I was saying, these assets for the enemies, they only have the reverb, so that will just randomly change. As it's a bear, I'm going to give it a growling. And there's somebody dead. It's because this guy's a little bit skinnier, maybe it's his bunny-like appearance. I gave him kind of softer sound. So that's it for Fmod. So I'll go into Unity and just walk you through my game. So first of all, I have level 1. I'll play through. So go over and kill some things. So the aim of this is to get to a score of 5,000. But for this demonstration, I'm going to exit, and I'm going to put the score up to 4,900 so I can go to level 2 very quickly. But I'm going to let them attack me now, and it's going to go down. My health's going to go down to 0.5. When it gets halfway, the next parameter is going to kick in. As you can hear it there. So I'm going to show you how I did that. So I have a background music object, and I have an ambient script attached to it, and I needed access to the player in this. So if I go into this, if it loads, yeah, so my ambient script. So I wanted access to the player, and that's why I have an instance to the player object there. So this is my game object, and when I go in here, because I have 2 levels, I had to distinguish between the 2 levels. So for number 1, if application.loaded isn't equal to number 1, in terms of scenes, scene 1 would be 0 and scene 2 would be 1. So this is literally saying, if this isn't scene 2, play this music. And then look for the parameters, and then set the value of that parameter to whatever game music is. And at the moment, game music would be 0. And then start the music. And if it is scene 2, play the second music, and exact same measure as the other thing. So then in the update, I can call player.current.health. If player current health less or equals to 50, which is an instance to the player. So when the player is less or equal to 50, change the game music value to 0.5 and set that value. And I didn't need to start again because it would already be playing. And then I just had a little 2-string printing out onto the screen, just for debug purposes, but it doesn't actually play in the build by this if statement here. Yeah, so in player, for other player sound effects, I'll show you the gun. There is a player shooting. So if I go into that script, player shooting, the listener is actually attached to the main camera. It wasn't necessary to put emitters around the place because of the action is always going to be happening around the player, because the gunshot comes from the player and the enemies only attack when they're in a suitable distance to the player, and also same with the hurt for the player. So yeah, main camera has this Fmod listener. If I go back to the player and show you the player shooting, it's just literally play a one shot of the gun multi sound, and that's why you get the different sounds for the gun. Player hurt would be in player health. So if I go into this and go down to player health, maybe I actually already have it open. Yeah. So literally when there's already a take damage function here. So literally when the player takes damage, I can just play the one shot of the player hurt. Next, it's the enemy. I have is it the enemy manager? Where I distinguish between the different sounds for the creatures or for the enemies. No, it's an enemy. Yeah, so it's the script enemy health, and in this I have to give it the prefab. So for every prefab, I have an enemy health script. So I have to pass in this prefab to this enemy, so that I can get access to the instance when they're created. Because they're not actually created on start, it doesn't show up in this panel here, but rather we make an instance of this. So if I very quickly show you that. Yeah, so if the enemy tag is Hellephant, play this. If it's Zombunny, play that, and if it's Zombear, play that. So this is all in the take damage function. So now I'm going to play the game, and I am going to, in the player, set the score to 4000, just so we can get this quickly, because I'm starting to run out of time. So I'll just play through. Player game music is 0 because my health is still fully attacked. So I should now go into that level of 5000. Now, so this one's actually going to go to 5000. So I'll go through this. Here, a little bit of wind. You can hear the shovels playing randomly. And there's some help. I have to get it up. So it is actually a hard game. But if I die, I'll change the score in the scene to 4900. So we can get through it. try not to get cornered in. So my health is down to half. And I'm barely dead. Now, I won. Press enter to exit. Yeah, so that's it from my game for Sound Implementation, the final CA. And thanks very much for listening. I hope you understood the accent. Thank you.